I'm going to be going over how to dynamically control the free space on your missiles in this video. So your missiles have this section called free internal space. You can use it for fuel, reinforcement, or extra payload, and it actually makes a big difference. If you look at my thrust duration, it's at 24. If I set this to reinforcement, I actually lost about 7 or 8 seconds of fuel. And if I change this to EMP, for example, I get 2,000 extra EMP damage from using the free internal space for it. Now for comparison, if I just set this back, if I turn one of these fuel tanks into EMP, it's only 1,100 damage. So what you use your free internal space for can actually make a big difference. One of the easiest optimization you can do is setting your internal space to extra payload whenever the enemy is close, and you don't need all this extra fuel. And I'll show you how to do that right now. First, you're going to need an AI breadboard. You'll want a primary target info, and the one we are looking for is target distance. Next, grab a generic block setter. Set this to your launcher. I'm using mediums. You'll just pick the one that you have. And then the parameter, you want to find P4, which is free space usage. Now the game doesn't make this very clear, but this is kind of how you set the free space to whatever you want. If you pass in a value of 0, it'll be used for fuel, 1 is reinforcement, and then 2, 3, and 4 are extra payload. Grab a math evaluator. Connect target distance to it. First thing we'll do is, if target distance, if A is more than 1,500 meters, then we want it to use the free space for fuel. Otherwise, we'll change it to say EMP. I'm going to add a second evaluator just to check that there's a target. Have 2 inputs. Input A is if there's a target. Input B is wherever we calculated here. So if A, so if there's a target, then we want to output whatever came in input B. Otherwise, I'll just default it to 0 and just use the internal space for fuel. Lastly, you'll just connect this up. And now our missile should be optimized so that whenever the enemy gets close, it'll change our internal space from extra fuel to payload so we do more damage. And whenever there's no target, it will default to extra fuel. Let's see how it works. So currently there's no target, so we're just using the extra space for fuel, but I'll spawn in some enemies. Let's do a harmony swarm. So right now we're still using it for fuel because they're really far away, but once they get below 1,500 meters, they should switch over to EMP. There we go, free internal space being used for EMP. And this should add some extra firepower to our missiles and not waste the internal space when we don't have to. Man, the EMP are destroying these guys. Last one's AI dead, so this should go back to extra fuel. Once that thing finally dies. Yep, back to fuel. So this is really customizable. You can really change your loadouts depending on what you want it to. You can have extra reinforcement, HE, incendiary. You can get really creative with this and customize it to your heart's content. That's it for the video. Hope you found this useful.